welcome to Kinship Connects, a podcast from SDA Kinship, sharing our stories and our journeys. My name is Floyd Pönitz, and today it is my privilege to speak with Maciej. Thanks for joining us. Glad you're here.
Hello, Floyd. Hello, everyone. Yeah.
Hi. So, introduce yourself, pronounce your name properly, in case I didn't, and tell us a little bit about where you're located and just where you are today.
Yeah, you pronounced my name actually very nicely. So it's Maciej, it's correct. The English equivalent is Maciej. I live in Warsaw, Poland. I was born here, grew up here with maybe a little break, like 1 year and a half of living in Russia, in Moscow. But,
wow.
But in general, my entire life is here in Poland. Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you learn English?
Only at school.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So very good. Americans are always impressed when other countries can speak English. So yeah, your English is very
good.
Actually
it is my third language, because the second one was Russian.
Okay.
Because I was born in a time when Poland was still a communist country, and it was obligatory to learn Russian as a foreign language at schools. Wow. And then, English just appeared as an option.
Yeah. So Warsaw is closer to Russia. I mean, as far as the geographics of Poland, Warsaw is more towards the eastern portion. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is actually Central Europe. Russia is one of our neighbors, but also Baltic countries, Belarus, Ukraine on one side, and Germany on the other, and in the south, Czechia and Slovakia. Great. Yeah, good geography lesson here for us all of where you're located that way. So you were born in Warsaw, you said, correct? Yeah. Yes.
And grew up there. And so what kind of Adventist connection did you have as a kid?
No connection at all. So I became an Adventist 7 years. So actually, I was baptized 6 years ago, and my first interest in Adventism was 7 years ago. So wow. I was an adult already.
Okay. So what piqued your interest, or what gave you that connection to Adventism?
It is an interesting story, and I think there are no coincidences. I believe there was, goodwill in that, and this kind of guidance. But actually, I met a person, a guy who was an Adventist and attended the local church. And there was one Sabbath when he was going to sing a song during a service. And I have many friends among artists, vocalists, and I've been always interested, in this area, how people sing. So I went there just to listen to him. And there was a time that, I had many struggles in my life, also spiritual struggles. And there was a sermon on that particular day that nailed it all. So it was exactly to the point. It provided answer to many burning questions I had. And it was I ended up that service with that, astonishment what that place was. And I started looking for some information or on boards on the walls. And on the next Sabbath, I was the one who actually encouraged that guy to go together to the church. I met some friends on that second day. So people who are currently my friends, but at that time they just introduced. So they invited me very nicely, to that community, and
wow.
That's how it started.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a good story. How large of a church was that?
So the total number of members in Poland is, I believe, 5,000. So it is not a big denomination.
Okay.
comparing to the country population, which is almost 40 million people. So yeah, Poland is mainly the Catholic country, Roman Catholic country, but probably the situation is changing, especially with young people now. But yeah, the predominant denomination, Christian denomination, is Catholicism, and Adventists are in the minority. The local church in Warsaw, is the biggest one with approximately 300 members.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's quite a large church then. Yeah. Good. Okay. So if you go just ask the person on the street in Poland or in Warsaw about Adventists, they probably would say, "What? Who are you talking about?" They're not well-known Adventists in Poland.
Yeah, it's true. There is a story. It happened like a few months ago that there was a question on TV show. So the Millionaire, there was a question: which day is a holy day for Seventh-Day Adventists? And the guy answered Monday. So it shows, the level of awareness of the society in Poland.
Yeah.
We have absolutely right.
We as Adventists have some work to do there then to clarify that. Yeah. Well, good. So I'm assuming you identify as gay. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that, just want to clarify that here. So at what age or when did you feel that you were gay or notice that, you weren't like everyone else maybe?
Yeah, probably it is a similar experience to the one all of us have, that it is a process, and it works, the same way with heterosexual people, that, the self-awareness grows as you grow up. But if I, recall like the first maybe symptoms, thoughts, feelings around that, it was already in the kindergarten. So probably at the age of 5 or something. Okay. When I first got attracted to a male friend in the kindergarten. But then, of course, there was some experience with girls as well, and in this especially teenagehood, it is a complete mess. Yeah, everything is mixed up. Yeah, but my coming out was at the age of 24, so it took some time. Yeah, until I fully realized and actually accepted who I am. And when I was ready to come out, and it was very quickly after I met my first male partner, my first boyfriend. When I got to that point of awareness, I didn't want to hide that information in front of my family or friends. Yeah.
Okay. So coming out, what did that all include? You talked about family and friends, so you told pretty much most of the people in your life that were important to you?
Yes, that's how it worked. And at that time, I was actually in a relationship with a lady. And maybe it was one of the reasons which helped me to realize who I really am and to come out, because it was a very good relationship and loving relationship. It is not that easy. So although I identify fully as gay, there was some bond between us, emotional bond. And I still, after so many years, refer to that time as a very good time emotionally. But, at some point, over time, it got more and more serious, and actually the relationship was moving slowly but surely towards the marriage. And that was, the moment when I actually confronted myself. And I actually had to admit in front of myself who I really am and what I actually want in that situation. So I had to break up with her. And then, when, of course, the family and the friends were interested in the reasons, I provided the actual reasons. There was no cheating on that.
Right. So what was the reaction from your friends, from your family? Were they surprised? Were they supportive?
Yeah, so it was the beginning of the years 2000, and at that time, people in Poland were kind of aware a little bit of the LGBTQ topic, but not that much. It was still kind of fresh and still shocking for some people when someone came out. For some friends, it was surprising. In some cases, it was even, a negative reaction. The worst situation and the most difficult one was with my mother, who currently is fully supportive.
Good.
But at that time, she said, one thing which was really painful, because at that time, my father was already dead. He passed away a few years earlier, and he passed away after several years of fighting with cancer. And my mother told me that with my coming out, I gave her worse experience than the death of my father, and this entire cancer story.
Wow. Yeah. It was your family, or is your mom Catholic, or no?
She was.
Okay.
She's now more towards Adventism, but not baptized. So a lot has changed since then. But at that time she was a Roman Catholic.
Okay. Now you said she's fully supportive now, right?
Yeah.
So what brought about that change? How did that happen?
So actually, what was missing at that time was knowledge, awareness. And I must say that she invested a lot of time and effort to actually learn and increase her awareness.
Okay.
She started, from consulting some psychologists, because, her first idea was that maybe my homosexual orientation is something like an illness, and something I could be cured of. So I started, consulting different people if it was possible, and I'm so grateful, that I was not moved to any conversion therapy or something. So, because fortunately, the first specialists she met were the right ones, so they explained everything, that it was not an illness, that it was not something where they could introduce any kind of treatment, that the way is just to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. But so she knew that theory at that point, but the full acceptance came a few years later, so it was a process.
Okay, great. Yeah, nice. So in Poland itself, in the community now, in the news, we hear a lot of things about, pushback on LGBTQ things, as well as pride parades happening. But so how is the atmosphere now in Poland in relation to the LGBT community?
It has never been good, I must say. And, even with more liberal governance, we've been fighting as a society, as a community, for the acceptance for not even marriages, but just, partnership relationships, because we have no formal option at all in our country, in Poland, to somehow, be formally recognized by the state that we exist, that we have our relationship. So, and I think we are one of the last countries in the EU that have no options for the LGBTQ people.
Wow.
But with the current government, I think it's worse than ever because they are really homophobic and fight against the LGBTQ people is a part of political campaign currently. So they try to introduce, different laws which would be actually against us, not only, not supporting us, but against us. So there are attempts. Fortunately, to date, nothing serious has happened. But any instances of violence against the LGBTQ people on the streets, it very often ends up with no intervention of the police, no legal protection. The hate speech is not present in our regulations, in our legal system. So it is especially difficult, thinking about young people. And actually, the suicide rate among young LGBTQ people in Poland is very high, and it's growing.
Wow. Yeah.
You could observe the trends. That, for example, we have current president who, during his pre-elections campaign, he actually said something like that LGBTQ are not people, but ideology. And you could see, the growing trend of the suicide rate, among young people after that. So those irresponsible politicians do not even realize that, their words have certain weight, and that they have consequences. Negative consequences.
Right. Yeah. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. So, but you are in a relationship.
Yes.
But there's no way to make it recognized by the government as a marriage or as a civil union or anything like that. It's only a private understanding between the two of you, right?
Yeah, that is the case, actually. Yeah. So I've been in a relationship lasting over 16 years now.
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Good. And you two live as an openly gay couple? Can you do that?
Yes. Yeah, fortunately we are located in the capital of the country. So Warsaw is very similar to other European capitals. So here the level of acceptance is higher. Yeah, the most problematic situation is in the countryside. Or in smaller cities.
That would be much more difficult. Yeah. So so then we get to when you found out about Adventism and you joined the church. You already knew that you were gay. You were already in this relationship that you are now. Now, your partner did not go to church with you. Is that correct?
So he never became an official member, but sometimes he participated with me in some services. But it was rather on an ad hoc basis, not regularly.
Right. So you were very active in the Warsaw church there, in participation. Is that correct?
Yes. There was even a period that I was a teacher in Sabbath school. But then I interrupted it for different reasons. One of the factors was that actually there were many rumors, and some people were not happy, that the gay person and with certain views on the topic of, non-heterosexual orientation and, other elements of this LGBTQ topic. So they were not happy that such a person is a teacher in Sabbath school. And because at that time I was very busy at work and, with different private problems, I said, okay, I will not push that. If that is
But you were never really closeted at church where you hid who you were or denied it or anything like that.
Yeah, so it was so it was transparent since the very beginning. The only thing I need to mention here is that at the time when I actually discovered Adventism, I experienced some kind of crisis in my relationship, and we got separated for almost a year. And at that time, I was considering different options, and after some experience, also bad experience at that time, there was that moment and period of asking myself and God that maybe if I stay sexually abstinent, that maybe that would be the right way. And I actually made that decision. So it was not triggered by the fact that I attended the Adventist church at that time, but it was a kind of coincidence. But at the time when I actually decided to get baptized, and when I was interviewed before that baptism, at that time I was sexually abstinent. So they knew my sexual orientation, but from their perspective, as long as I was sexually abstinent, the problem did not exist.
Okay.
At least, officially, because then, of course, there was this practical experience with different, members, and I was received in this society in general. So it is a bit different story, but at least, from the official perspective, the sexual orientation itself was not a problem.
Okay. Well, we talk about the clobber texts a lot, the 6 famous texts that are used. So you were Adventist, you became Adventist, you were already gay. Did you have a problem with those texts, or what did you have to do to make it right in your mind with God that he accepted you just as you are, and not that you really were doing something you just wanted to do and it was against God?
So actually, I was not aware of any unclobbered texts, and that was the issue. So of course, there was some kind of struggle for many years. So before I became an Adventist, I had a relationship with God, of course, and it evolved. And there was, some period when I was maybe not an atheist, but agnostic. And one of the reasons was that I couldn't, reconcile my feelings, my thoughts with the Bible, and how I understood the Bible, and how I was taught the Bible. I knew that my sexual orientation was not something I chose. I know that it was like in me since the very early years. I don't remember, of course, the moment I was born, but as I mentioned earlier, at the age of 5, I already had some sort of awareness. I couldn't reconcile the fact that on one hand, I'm taught that God is love, and love we cannot even imagine. On the other hand, that I was, born this way, created this way. I don't want to harm anyone. I just want to be myself. And also, have that option to love someone, and be emotionally connected to someone. So, when I started this reconciliation, I had like different answers on the way. So one of those, the first one was that in such case, that entire story about God existing somewhere is not true. But then I had, especially, in that period when my father was sick and after he died, really like very personal miracles that happened when God actually manifested his presence in my life. So I knew that he was there. So then the second phase of the reconciliation came. So I knew that God existed, but then how to connect the dots. So the second phase was, and my second answer was that in such case it means that probably Bible is not entirely correct. But then, this kind of conclusion is dangerous as well, because, then it is very easy to pick up from the Bible those verses and parts which you like and reject those you don't like. And actually, it ended up in some kind of agnosticism, so that I knew that some invisible power existed in my life. It had influence on me, on my life, but I didn't know how to approach that power and how to characterize it. And that period lasted many years. And then after those many years, the experience with Adventism came, and it changed a lot.
Okay, good. So you were active, everything was going well in the Warsaw church, and then something happened and you went from the hero to the not hero anymore in the church. And so tell me a little bit about that, and also how did you hear about SDA Kinship? Did that happen before this controversy or after the controversy in the church?
Actually, it is so maybe starting from the second part of the question. So how I found out about kinship. It was actually a kind of little miracle as well, because at some point, and it happened a couple of years ago, I was on the flight to Barcelona for professional reasons, and in that flight, I had just, on my mobile, that app, where all the books of Ellen White are present. And I started reading, and at some point, a thought came to my mind. I wonder if she referred anyhow to the topic of the sexual orientation, homosexuals, and so on. And I started looking, filtering, through those, books. And I found actually a book which was a compilation of her text. And there was even a chapter called Homosexuality. But then I read what was, put in the chapter, and I realized that those texts were completely irrelevant. Right. So that someone decided that it was about homosexuality and gave the title of the chapter, but actually her texts were about Sodom and Gomorrah, but it was a completely different context. So I started searching more and more, and also on the internet. And what is the relationship between the Bible and LGBTQ topic and so on. And actually in Barcelona, I found out on one of the web pages that there was the organization of the LGBTQ Adventists. And I sent an email to, I don't remember if it was you or some representative in Europe, but it was taken from that website. Right. I sent an email actually from Barcelona, so it was very, very fast. That I'm interested, to learn more about the organization and maybe to join you. And that was the moment when I started realizing that maybe that interpretation of the Bible I knew earlier, I had known earlier, was not entirely correct. And maybe there are some, other options how you could read those texts. So that's how it started.
Wow, great.
And your first question was about how...
what happened in the church from becoming the hero in the church to becoming something less than a hero.
Yeah. So the whole story. There were many incidents over years when, and I learned it recently, just recently, that there were many cases when people from the church actually contacted the board because of me, because of my different posts on Facebook or Instagram. So I've been always like an ally for other LGBTQ people, very open about my sexual orientation, but also like encouraging people to come out and or maybe not encouraging to come out, but showing that if they want some support or if they want someone to come out in front of, that I'm available, or just to talk. So it was like very clear. And when different situations, different fights occurred in my country as well, those political fights. So I always supported the LGBTQ community. So many people at church didn't like it. So there were like several cases when they contacted the church board complaining about my behaviors and expecting, some reaction from the board. But at that time, it was like, so the information about that didn't even reach me, because it was somehow, filtered, stopped by the board, and their explanation was always that, okay, I was a gay person, but sexually abstinent, so they see no problem, and they didn't see also anything outrageous, in the way I provided that support. So they used that interpretation that, we should, of course, hate the sin, but love the sinner. And they saw that love towards the sinners in me. At the time when, just before, displacing me from the church, they told me, so one of the representatives of the board, he told me that for many years they hoped that I would be their missionary, so the Adventist missionary among not converted LGBTQ people. But it turned out that I became a missionary of LGBTQ community in the Adventist church. But what happened? The beginning of this story was in June, when my partner and me actually got to our 16th anniversary, and I shared this information on Facebook, calling him non-husband, and it was kind of irony related to our political situation. That I would normally call him husband, but he was non-husband because of the context. And and it was too much. So afterwards, there was like series of complaints, and that eventually the board should do something about me, and about how I present my views in the public space. at that time, I actually made a decision as well with my partner after a few years that we will not be sexually abstinent anymore. And the reasons for that were different, but also, I realized that it was not something God expected from me and from us, and that it was not like something against the God's law,
Right.
if you read the Bible in a proper way. So, the board contacted me then that they want to talk to me and clarify certain things. And that they informed me then that there were many complaints and that they need to analyze the situation to actually decide what would happen next in terms of, my membership, my presence in the church, my role in the church. And at that time, I was actually starting my holidays, my annual leave. So I agreed with them that once I return, I would contact them. But in the meantime, I was going to send a reply to their letter, because they contacted me, in writing. And I explained at that time that since the moment when I was baptized, my views regarding, what the Bible indicates around the LGBTQ topic changed. That I have like proofs and theological proofs that the current theology is wrong in that matter. And I open to discussion about it. I informed them that I live now with my partner according to what I believe in. And that triggered the disciplinary action against me, and it ended up, in displacing me from the church and the membership. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, you've had conversations with the pastor, with the board. I know that we got some other people involved to talk with the pastor. And it felt like the pastor just went with whatever the church manual said. The Adventist church manual officially says this, and that is what we're going to do. There's no discussing or talking about it that will change our minds. Is that pretty much correct?
Yes. It was really, I can say, ridiculous, because, on one hand, they informed me that they had no competency to assess this situation, and they could only refer to the church manual and to the official position of the change towards that topic. But on the other hand, they were very engaged in the discussions, what was right and what was wrong, and what is expected, from persons like me. So at some point, I told them that I got lost if they actually think that they are competent enough or not. On the way, I encouraged them many times to actually get to the source, so the Bible, and have the conversation based on the Bible. It was really disappointing, especially in the Adventist church, that they didn't want, to start that kind of conversation. It was only based on the church manual. And I must share here one important information, that at that time I was already in touch with Patricia Johnston, and I am going to have her book translated to Polish and published in Poland. So we have started this cooperation already. So I had the manuscript of her book at that time. So I was fully equipped with very good theological arguments, and was ready to start that discussion, and I offered to them that we could invite also other people if they don't feel competent enough. We could organize a very good theological discussion, kind of panel. Mm-hmm. And I thought that that topic was worth it, but they didn't want to move in that direction. So they just wanted to close it quickly. So it ended up quickly.
Wow. Yeah. So you went from the person that they knew for all these years to a totally different person because they knew one additional piece of information, even though that didn't change who you were and who they knew you as. They saw you in a different light, and it didn't matter because the church manual said that you were not worthy of being an Adventist in good standing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. That must have been a real slap in the face.
Yeah, so on one hand, I expected that, knowing, the atmosphere of those discussions before that voting. And of course, on the way, I was encouraged to maybe, just resign in a more silent way. Mm-hmm. Although it was stressful and unpleasant for me, it was also a kind of duty, I thought, I had in that entire area, and especially, in the political context in Poland. You cannot just be quiet, stay quiet, in such situations. So I just at least wanted to try to fight for a good, discussion around the topic,
sure.
Good theological discussion. And what is funny enough, I think 1 or 2 weeks after they displaced me, for the first time in the history of the church in Poland, they organized a debate.
Oh,
but
wow.
It was a debate where, only people thinking about this subject the same were invited. There was just one elder who supported me in this entire process, invited to play a role of a person presenting the opposite view, but they were not brave enough to invite any LGBTQ person or any representative of the affirming theology. It was only the official church theology. So that kind of debates when up front everyone is in agreement regarding the main points. Yeah, and then discuss just nuances. So
very one-sided.
Yeah, very one-sided. It was not a real debate, but maybe the reason why they decided to organize this debate was that my case was like a very loud case, I would call it this way, in the whole country, and in different local churches. And I know that it actually divided the church, because there were people who were fully supportive for me and who could not understand why, just because of that reason, person is rejected and displaced from the church. And there were, the others, very happy that it was eventually happening and that it showed that, the rules were still there. So maybe, in order for this, entire storm to come down, maybe they decided to organize it just to reconfirm what the right way of thinking was about the subject.
Wow. And they felt really good about doing that. That side did.
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Yeah.
My guess, yeah.
Wow. So you do have supporters there and people that care about you truly. Do you still go to church there, or has that changed, or where are you currently with that?
So I don't attend that place.
Yeah.
And it is for a certain reason, and I have even a biblical justification for that. I really fought to stay there, and the statement of the majority of the members of that local church was that they didn't want me as a member. So I found it really strange that after that voting, some of those who voted against approached me that maybe it would be nice if I could still attend, not as a member. So I looked at them and asked, that it was kind of schizophrenic for me. That on one hand you vote this way, and there were questions like, so what the church actually was. Is it like an institution and the community aside and separate from it? For me, it is not biblical. So I refer just to, those texts, those fragments where it is said that if you enter a place with your honesty, with your message, and you are rejected there, just, remove the dust from your shoes, from your feet, and move away. And that is my position for now. So I don't keep a relationship, with people who voted against, but I'm keeping the relationship with those who wanted me in the church. And actually, they did even more because they knew that I was not going to attend the local church. So some of them organize meetings and services at homes and invite me. And it is like a new quality in this society. So maybe my case is not the only reason why it is happening, because some of those people had been thinking about, such an approach, such solution for a longer time, but it was like that last element missing, which triggered, the ultimate decision. So there are currently 2 places where maybe not on every Sabbath, but such meetings are organized, and they are very good meetings, and really in
awesome.
A very strong, spiritual atmosphere. And we read the Bible. There are even sermons. Some of us prepare the sermons. We share the experiences we have. We have Sabbath school. So a very
awesome.
nice new experience of mine.
Very encouraging. So that goes to show that there is life after being disfellowshipped from the church, that you can still be part of an Adventist community and that connection. So that's very good. You mentioned Alicia's book that's coming out and that you have read it and translating it. Do you think, because it's from a very conservative point of view, do you think it will help make a difference for conservative Adventists who are open to hearing that message?
I'm hoping for that. But, of course, I'm not sure what the reactions will be. And probably there will be a group of people who would be, resistant to any argumentation. Because they think what they think. But maybe, there are some who are hesitant, or maybe they have different thoughts, second thoughts, especially after, my displacement. So maybe for them it would be helpful. We need to pray for that. We know that, with every real truth, it is the work of the Holy Spirit as well, not only just text. So I understand my role here, that it came from the prayers as well, that it is my part of the project to make sure that the book would be translated and published.
Good.
And it will be a new experience for me because I have never published any books. I need to, also learn a lot about the, associated regulations and so on.
Yeah.
But my plan is to do that, and the rest, will be on God's side.
Yeah. Well, we'll be praying for you, and always appreciate an update on how things are going with you. So yeah. I've been looking forward to hearing this story for a while now, and so I appreciate you sharing it with us. Do you have any parting words of wisdom for people who find themselves in a situation like yours, who maybe are going to be disfellowshipped or just having trouble with their local church? Do you have any comforting words to share with them?
So I have nothing prepared here, but just from the bottom of my heart and from my experience. First we need to remember about the source of our faith, and that it is about the relationship with God. And people could disappoint us, but we need to remember that we have a loving Father in heaven, and that even though we might be left alone outside of such a community, that relationship does not end up. And if we rely on God, things will be fine at some point again, although it might seem really scary, especially in some situations. And I have a situation. My situation is that I was not born in an Adventist family, so I imagine that for me, having converted as an adult person, it is a bit different story than of those people who were in this Adventist society since they were born, and since they actually could remember in the beginning. So it might be really difficult if you have all the friends and the relatives in that society. So I'm not able to give any clever advice here, because I can imagine that it might be scary, but we need to remember that in the end it is and the reason why the church exists is Jesus Christ, is God. And my experience shows as well that although an institution could displace you, there are different people in that institution, and you could find still real friends and supporters. So it doesn't mean that it is the end of your real spiritual community. Maybe the one you will end up in would not be that huge, but it is not about the number of people, but about the quality of relationships and so on. And it might be even better. So there is life outside of the Adventist church.
Great. Very, very encouraging. Very encouraging. Great. Well, SDA Kinship appreciates you being a part of our community, and we rejoice and with you and your partnership, your relationship, with you and your husband, whether it's legal or not. So we are very happy for you, and look forward to hearing more from you about what the future holds for you and what is continuing. So yeah. Maciej, thank you so much for sharing with us today. We hope that today's podcast was interesting and has given our listeners something to think about. Seventh-Day Adventist Kinship is the only LGBTQIA+ affirming community for current and former Adventists. We welcome not only the Rainbow Alphabet members, but also parents and family members who want to learn more about how to support their loved ones, and supportive allies who stand with us and make a difference in our church, in our world. You can check us out on the web at sdakinship.org or follow us on social media at SDA Kinship. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at info@sdakinship.org. And if you have anything you want to share with Maciej, you can send it to me and I'll forward it on to him. We look forward to having you with us on the next podcast release and wish you a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Kiedyś u stóp mi leżał świat. Los robił wszystko na mój znak. Myślałem, po co mi do szczęścia drugi ktoś. Dziś wiem, że to nie tak. Na zawsze już zostanie ból. Pod powiekami widzę go. Za łatwo serce pozwoliłem sobie skraść. Skąd siłę brać? No skąd? A on zawsze będzie obok, nawet gdy ucieka gdzieś. Trzyma moją duszę, rani, wzrusza, dręczy, jak to znieść? Sam w tej wieży zwolna gasnąc, miotam się jak dziki zwierz. Bo czy on zechce tutaj wejść i ze mną być aż po zmierzch? Dlaczego miłość kusi tak? Niech precz przepadnie wieczny mrok. Chociaż on tak daleko jest, sam nie wiem gdzie, chcę ścigać go, mój wzrok. A on zawsze będzie obok, nawet skryty pośród win. Zawsze siłę daje mi dzień po dniu, sekundy liczę z nim. Sam w tej wieży zwolna gasnąc, miotam się jak dziki zwierz. Bo czy on zechce tutaj wejść i pośród długiej nocy tej już samotności będzie mniej, byle z nim być aż po śmierć.